Welcome back to The Great Expanse by JohnBat426 here on YouTube. So glad you guys have joined me for these videos. So glad the channel is growing, and that is thanks to you. I mean, I am the one putting out the content, but it will only grow if you guys enable it growth by sharing it or just by saying, yo man, I just saw something awesome. What'd you see that was awesome? You like comic book stuff, right? Yeah, I do. Check out The Great Expanse by JohnBat426 on YouTube. It's that simple. Word of mouth. I need words coming out of your mouth about The Great Expanse by JohnBat426. I'm not a Marvel head only. I'm not a DC fanboy only. And I'm not a fanboy. But I'm not just one or the other. You know how people like hold a gun to your head and say, if you had to choose, life on the line, gun to your family, who do you like, Marvel or DC? I like all of them. I don't want there to be a big 2. I want there to be a big 20. And I don't know if there are 20, major comic book companies out there, but there's at least 6. So I like all of them. But my favorite, but do you recall my most favorite superhero of all? Spider-Man! Peter Parker's Spider-Man. That one. I like him more than Miles Morales. As I said on a previous video, I'm waiting for Miles Morales to get his own rogues gallery that aren't 2.0s of Peter Parker's bad guys. I want him to have his own shtick, his own outfit. Rather than Peter going, hey Miles, I need you. I want Miles to be in his lane and Peter to be in his lane. But anyway, today's video regarding Spider-Man is one thing that is my favorite. Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery. This is Spider-Man's top 10 rogues, to me. Alright? And this was very difficult to do. I had most of them, most of the top 10, but it was so hard to leave. The hardest thing was leaving people off of this list. And let me spoil it right now. Who did not make the top 10. And it's hard, all right, that they did not make the top 10. Flint Marko the Sandman did not make the top 10. And it's eating me alive right now that he did not make the top 10. The Rhino, Alexei Sistovich, I think is his name, or Sitsovich. The Rhino did not make the top 10. Like I said, it was so hard to keep these guys off. The Vulture, Adrian Toomes, did not make the top 10. It was portrayed masterfully by Michael Keaton in Spider-Man Homecoming. The best part of that movie. Mysterio, Quentin Beck, who was criminally misused in Spider-Man Far From Home. But the Great Mysterio was kept off the top 10 begrudgingly. Somebody that's not very popular, but somebody that I like. The Molten Man was kept off. People are probably like, the Molten Man, really? Yes! Electro, Maxwell Dillon, or just Max Dillon was left off the top 10. And a major guy was left off the top 10. Cletus Cassidy, Carnage, was left off of my top 10. Okay. I'm still here. It was so hard to leave these guys off because there's so many great Spider-Man villains to choose from, because the Spider-Man Rogues Gallery is my favorite Rogues Gallery of any Rogues Gallery. Of Batman's Rogues Gallery. And that's a close one. Batman's Rogues Gallery is my second favorite. The X-Men's Rogues Gallery. That's my third favorite. The Fantastic Four's Rogues Gallery. Superman's Rogues Gallery. The Star Wars Universe's Rogues Gallery. And you know how much I love Star Wars. I mean, I'm talking Darth Vader, the Emperor, Jabba the Hutt, Boba Fett, Count Dooku, Darth Maul, General Grievous. Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery is my favorite. Alright? So, let's get right into the top 10, alright? And we'll go from 10 to 1, alright? Number 10. Kraven the Hunter, Sergei Kravinoff. A man that came to New York City to hunt Spider-Man, the elusive Spider-Man who could not be arrested by the police because nobody knew his whereabouts. But Kraven the Hunter put his skills to the test and he is a formidable foe because of his abilities to track, his abilities to hunt in the wilds of Africa. He's hunted lions, tigers, bears. Oh my. And Kraven the Hunter is supposedly getting his own movie starring Aaron Taylor Johnson. Now, Aaron Taylor Johnson played Quicksilver in The Age of Ultron, and he also played the lead role in Godzilla 2014, directed by Gareth Edwards, okay? So Sergei Kravinoff, Kraven the Hunter, comes in at number 10. At number 9, a Spider-Man villain, true and true, but he's also somebody else's villain. The Kingpin, Wilson Fisk. I could not leave him off of this list. Sort of rhymes, Fisk list. The Kingpin of Crime. A man who is portrayed masterfully by Vincent D'Onofrio in the Daredevil series. He also had a short role in the Hawkeye series on Disney+. But the Kingpin is larger than life. He has no superpowers, but he has enhanced strength. And I don't think it's because of any genetic testing, but he's just a large, burly man. He is the undisputed crime lord of New York City, having taken it from Silvio Manfredi, from others. The Kingpin reigns supreme. All right. Number 8. This might come as a shock that this person made the list and these other honorable mentions didn't. But one of my favorite Spider-Man villains, the Lizard, Dr. Kurt Connors. And one thing that I love about the Lizard is that it is a personal acquaintance of Peter Parker's, and he still turns to crime. A lot of the guys on this list have very deep personal relationships with Peter Parker. Kurt Connors is like a mentor to Peter Parker. Now, his arm, I don't remember the history of his arm. I think he lost his arm in the Vietnam War, I think. And in order to regenerate that arm, regenerate that limb, he said, hey, if I can tap into the genetic coding of lizards who are able to regenerate limbs, maybe I can regenerate my arm. He did regenerate his arm, but there was a ghastly side effect, him becoming a man-sized, anthropomorphized lizard. And the cool thing is, he still has a scientific outfit on. So a big lizard with a lab coat. He was portrayed in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. I do not remember the actor's name. His name will appear here. And he also was the primary antagonist in Amazing Spider-Man by, I don't remember, his name will appear here. All right, number 7 on the list. Don't throw your tomatoes at me, but I really like this Spider-Man villain. He's a newer villain. Mr. Negative, Martin Lee. Owner of the Feast, shelter. I forgot what Feast stands for. I used to know what it stood for. I don't remember anymore. But there's a mention of Feast. Aunt May, Marissa Tomei's Aunt May is working at Feast, I believe, is it Spider-Man No Way Home or was it Spider-Man Far From Home? But that's sort of like a breadcrumb to Martin Lee because I believe he's the one that is the founder of Feast. But he also has a side effect of becoming Mr. Negative, who was a Asian crime lord. And the cool thing is, he looks cool, doesn't he? He has enhanced powers. He has, he's a little campy, Mr. Negative, because people call people that are like downers, oh, Mr. Negative, thank you. And his close confidants are called the Inner Demons, which is also kind of a meta reference to himself because Mr. Negative is an inner demon for Mr. Martin Lee. All right? One of my favorites. Number 6 on the list, the Scorpion. Easily one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. Mac Gargan. Mac Gargan was paid by J. Jonah Jameson originally to tail Peter Parker and find out how he gets all those exclusive articles and photos of Spider-Man. Now, Jonah called Mac Gargan off of that assignment, and he went to somebody called Dr. Farley. Is it Farley or Franklin? Dr. Stillwell, for Mac Gargan to undergo a genetic process similar to Spider-Man's, but with a more powerful animal of the animal creature of the animal kingdom, a scorpion rather than a spider. Mac Gargan underwent the process. It drove him crazy. When he was supposed to be somebody to defeat Spider-Man, he turned on J. Jonah Jameson. Spider-Man had to save J. Jonah Jameson from the creature, an almost sort of Dr. Frankenstein-esque thing where, you know, the monster turned on its creator. And at the end, J. Jonah Jameson's going, "Get him, Spider-Man! Get him!" Because Scorpion had an axe to grind with J. Jonah Jameson. But Scorpion, easily one of my favorite characters. Number 5, the Hobgoblin. Oh yeah, the Hobgoblin, he's high up on this list. I really love the Hobgoblin. Is he a ripoff of the Green Goblin? Of course. It's same weapons, same aerial glider, same shtick. His alter ego was, many people thought that he was Ned Leeds, but the writer, I think either the editor or whoever had the control of the Spider-Man series at the time thought that Ned Leeds was too obvious. So they kind of wrote a convoluted story that Ned Leeds was kind of put up to it because he was a reporter at the Daily Bugle. Ned Leeds was. And they changed it to a wealthy fashion industrialist named Roderick Kingsley. So Roderick Kingsley is the Hobgoblin. I've always loved the Hobgoblin. I don't know why. Like I said, he's sort of a ripoff of the Green Goblin. But he was portrayed masterfully in Spider-Man the Animated Series by Mark Hamill. Alright, so I can't wait to see the Hobgoblin in live action. Number 4. Now we're getting down to the cream of the crop, okay? Venom. Venom. I'm sorry, I hate that song by Eminem. I do. Venom. Eddie Brock. That version of Venom. Even though Agent Venom, played by the late Flash Thompson, was pretty cool too, but I prefer the Eddie Brock Venom tongue, big mouth, brain eater, I believe. Another personal enemy of Spider-Man and Peter Parker. Because remember, Spider-Man cannot detect Venom because the symbiote was so grafted to Peter Parker for so long that his spider sense is just ineffective when the Venom symbiote is nearby because he just becomes so familiarized with it. But Venom, great villain, almost an anti-hero now, sort of. But he's on the list of Spider-Man villains, all right? Number 3. Might be another surprise. Might be more tomatoes. No? Okay. Tombstone. L. Thompson Lincoln. Almost said Lonnie Machin, but that's Anarchy from the Batman Rogues Gallery. But L. Thompson Lincoln Tombstone. Sal Buscema's run on, is it the Web of Spider-Man or is it Spectacular Spider-Man from the 80s? But his run on Spider-Man, introducing Tombstone, involving the Punisher, is some of my favorite stuff of Spider-Man's history. I love the whole Tombstone arc, the whole Robbie Robertson, how he grew up Robbie, he injured Robbie, like broke his back, and then he and Spider-Man have this huge fight on this scaffold, on this building construction, and Spider-Man finally puts Tombstone down for the count. I absolutely fell in love with the Tombstone character, and Tombstone is easily one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. Tombstone we have yet to see in live action. Is it the PS4 Spider-Man game? They made him like a big albino with like no hair, and I didn't care for that version at all. My favorite, besides the comic book, iteration of L. Thompson Lincoln Tombstone was in the Spectacular Spider-Man animated series, voiced initially by Keith David and then by Kevin Michael Richardson, when he was the big man of crime. I don't think they could legally, I don't think they had the license to use the Kingpin for the cartoon, so they used Tombstone, who was done excellently. Excellent. Number 2. Now, when you talk about Spider-Man's all-time greatest villains, you know it only comes down to 2. It's only a matter of who sits at number 2 and who sits at number 1. And these go back and forth. But this is my list. And your face. Number 2. The Green Goblin, Norman Osborn. Not Harry Osborn, but Norman Osborn. Again, Norman Osborn, a personal acquaintance of Peter Parker because he's the father of Peter Parker's best friend, Harry Osborn. And Norman took a liking to Peter immediately because he had that sort of scientific know-how. Sorry about that. But he had that scientific know-how, and Norman Osborn is a scientist. Harry does not have that. So Norman saw that in Peter Parker, and he became almost a surrogate father to Peter Parker, because Peter Parker famously lost his uncle, Uncle Ben Parker, all right, who was like a father to Peter. So Peter was without father figures. And the Green Goblin is just awesome. I mean, it's too many storylines to really even go into, but the Green Goblin, number 2 on this list. So, who does that leave at number 1? Dun, dun, dun! I think that's the same car every time, or truck, every time. Number 1, dun, dun, dun. There's only one person. It could be, but it's not the Green Goblin or Venom. Dr. Octopus! That's more of a snake charmer, not really his tentacles. But Otto Octavius, one of my favorite Marvel villains, and Spider-Man, and my favorite Spider-Man villain. Pudgy, out of shape, but I just love reading comic books with Dr. Octopus. I love the artwork, just the arms. They get me every time. There's one Dr. Octopus story. It's in the Fantastic Four, where Dr. Octopus is separated from his harness, and he's sent to like a version of Arkham Asylum. He's like, you know, trying to like rehab, and they're giving him mental health treatments, and they feel like he's making a lot of progress. And then the doctor holds up like a fold. It's like arts and crafts or whatever, and it's like a whole bunch of octopi, and he's like, I wonder. And then Reed Richards asks for Dr. Octavius' help, because Susan Richards, his wife, the Invisible Woman, has radiation poisoning. I believe that's from the time that they were in the negative zone. She had already had Franklin by then, but she's carrying her second child, and Reed Richards can't figure it out. So he goes to the world's foremost authority in atomic research and radiation, Dr. Octopus. But as he and Mr. Fantastic are in the Fantastic Car going to the hospital, he sees a billboard of Spider-Man, and he starts to break down. Now, his arms were locked away in a maximum security facility underground, but the mental connection between Otto Octavius and his arms was so powerful that the arms broke out of the prison, basically like obtained Otto Octavius, and then Otto just put the harness back on, and he was Dr. Octopus once again. All right, Dr. Octopus, another personal associate of Peter Parker's, because he fell in love with May Parker immediately. Dr. Octopus was supposed to marry Aunt May, so he would have been Uncle Otto. Now that's something we hear in the Clone Wars, where Padme Amidala is referring to a Rhodian senator as Uncle Otto, but Otto Octavius was about to be the surrogate uncle / father of Peter Parker legally. Imagine that. So, that was my top 10 Spider-Man enemies. 2 of these guys, I know you guys are probably looking at me kind of a little weird. It's like, wait, you had Mr. Negative and Tombstone on the list, but you forego Sandman, Rhino, the Vulture, Mysterio, Electro, and Carnage? Yes, because it's my list. And I love the organized crime aspect of Spider-Man, all right? And I believe that gives Spider-Man, like, depth. Like, he's not just, fighting supervillains, but he's fighting organized crime components that have superpowers, that are entrenched in the hierarchy and the infrastructure of New York City. Now, we know the kingpin of crime, Wilson Fisk, is at the top, but these guys are vying for control of criminal organizations and empires. All right? So I hope you guys like this list. If not, write a dissertation in the comments. David Brent, please let them know where the comments go. Down there. That's where the comments go. And let's continue to like these videos. Let's continue to share them. Subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends to subscribe. Tell them to hit that bell for notifications all. So the next time a new video is dropped, they'll know about it second. I'll know about it first. And The Great Expanse by JohnBat426 will expand. It's in the name.